Beer is a $100 billion industry in this country, selling over 6 trillion gallons per year. Once thought of as a down-to-earth drink, these days beer has gotten fancy, with small brewers making what's known as craft beer. And sales are exploding, up 15%. So what's that doing to the beer business? We welcome ABC's nutrition and wellness editor, David Zinczenko, to Nightline.
Oh, man.
It's one of America's favorite pastimes, celebrating summer with a cold one.
Cheers!
Beer is having a big moment, a revolution of sorts. From festivals,
I'm here to taste as many beers as possible,
to tours,
We love beer.
to beer gardens.
Now I have a greater appreciation of all the work that goes into them.
In the old days, beer was the downscale beverage of choice of down-to-earth movie characters like Bluto in Animal House.
Grab a brew. Don't cost nothing.
Or Smokey in Smokey and the Bandit. But these days, beer is taken as seriously as fine wine. And there's a new crop of beer snobs to tell you about it,
It definitely looks heavier than your average porter.
creating hours of YouTube content,
A little bit of pineapple and mango.
rating hundreds of varieties. There are even beer sommeliers suggesting food pairings.
I'm gonna throw this in with fajitas.
This isn't your ordinary six-pack. People are increasingly seeking out beers made by smaller brewers that experiment with flavor,
They don't like the watered down stuff that they're used to.
creating what's known as craft beer.
The craft beer is exploding. Big brewers are really looking at that and trying to make a more local, fresh product.
In the past year alone, hundreds of new craft breweries have popped up all over the U.S. Sales are up 15%. And with big beer sales on the decline, big dogs like Budweiser and Coors are scrambling to get a cut of the craft beer craze. If there was ever going to be a beer war, this is how Miller would have wanted it to go. But these days, a real beer war is brewing between the big beer giants like Anheuser-Busch and microbreweries.
The competition will make us a stronger brewery. It forces us to innovate. It forces us to get better.
But I tell people, drink the beer. Don't drink the advertising or the marketing, and may the best beer win.
The maker of Budweiser, who owns nearly 50% of the American market, now admits they were complacent.
But we weren't necessarily paying attention to some of the things that are happening around us.
To see the front lines of this beer battle,
Ready? Let's go.
we hopped on a beer bus.
This prohibition was a party for beer.
Here, people are serious about their beer.
I like Miller High Life, actually. The champagne beers.
Do you have more of an appreciation for craft brews?
Definitely. I can't go home and drink it, of course.
We started our journey at the largest craft beer maker in the country,
Welcome to our brewery.
Boston Beer Company, home of Sam Adams.
One of the things that I as a brewer love to do is take beer where no beer has gone before.
Jim Cook started brewing in his kitchen 30 years ago. Now he ships 2.7 million barrels a year, with over 50 different kinds of brews.
These are hops. They give beer its spiciness and a lot of its aroma.
But often that flavor comes at a price. On average, a six-pack of craft beer will cost you a few bucks more than the big brewers' brands. Clearly, customers are willing to pay up. And Anheuser-Busch wants in. They started their own craft beer called Shock Top and are even buying up craft breweries like Goose Island in Chicago.
We're the rich uncle who provides them the resources that they need, and the team there, they continue to innovate.
Some of the critics might contend, oh, they own Goose Island, but they don't put their name, the Anheuser-Busch name, on the label.
I think that's kind of ridiculous. People are going to find out that we make them. And actually, it's a source of pride for us when people do find out that Anheuser-Busch makes a beer.
But Jim Cook of Sam Adams thinks it's a sly marketing move.
Well, I get a little bit of a chuckle when the largest brewer in the world, wants to pretend like they're little Sam Adams.
Even though it's kind of annoying to have the big brewers basically pretending to be us, my feeling is like, well, what are you going to do? Craft brewers are the ones who are creating this excitement. And if people start with copycat beers from the big brewers, well, they're going to soon graduate and discover the real thing.
The Brooklyn Brewery is producing only a tiny fraction of beer compared to the big guys, but brewmaster Garrett Oliver says they're still winning.
We are now making about 10 times more beer here than we were 3 years ago. This movement is happening now because our entire culture is moving towards more flavor.
But Anheuser-Busch contends that Budweiser is still the king of beers.
There's a reason why we sell as much Bud and Bud Light that we do. It's because people like it, and it's good.
Does it disappoint you or annoy you when people refer to it as the yellow fizzy stuff?
I take it with a grain of salt because those guys know how hard it is to make a lager.
But regardless of who you think makes the better beer, it's clear the beer renaissance is here to stay. For Nightline, I'm Dave Zinzenko in New York.